Good morning, everybody, and thank you for tuning in today. Today's video is going to be two parts, really. The first part is we're going to talk about things that responsible gun owners don't do, right? So everything that you shouldn't do as a responsible gun owner, everything that you shouldn't do realistically as a responsible adult who owns guns. And that's really the kind of the purpose of this video, right? The purpose is not for me to get up here and preach, but it's rather to inform about things that I see people doing all the time. And I just think, wow, that's a really irresponsible thing for somebody who's supposedly an expert or a gun owner or a representative of our community to do. And I really think that. I really honestly believe that responsible gun owners don't do the following things that we're about to talk about. The first is whipping it out, right? So like there's always that guy that he's got a gun and people want to see it and he just whoosh, right, and whips it completely out of the holster. I don't think that's something responsible gun owners do, and here is why. Right, so I remember going into gun stores when I was a kid and it said all weapons that are carried inside will be holstered in which the need arises, in which case judicious marksmanship is appreciated, right? And that kind of stuck with me, right? So not like the code of the samurai or anything crazy where you draw it and you have to draw blood with it, but rather if you're gonna have a weapon on you, then you need to be responsible enough to determine when it is acceptable to pull it out. And there are times where you can pull your weapon out safely and demonstrate it and talk about it and talk through it. But in 95% of situations, it's not okay, right? And it's not. And using a little bit of adult maturity and thinking about everything that's going on in the situation, when it dictates when it's going to be okay, is really the mark of a responsible adult and therefore a responsible gun owner. The next thing, right, that I don't think responsible gun owners do is it involves being inside of a gun store, and it's kind of the whipping it out guy, but do you have anything for this guy, right? So most gun stores, and I'm not entirely sure, I believe it's a law, but every gun store I've ever been into, the people who worked in the store carried a firearm. So that was for self-protection and protection of their business, and the fact that they were selling tools that at some point were designed to kill people. Because if you don't know that, all weapons at some point in their creation were designed to kill people. Right, and obviously a lot of them have been adapted and they have modern sporting, hunting, or other uses other than the killing of people. But please never forget that all weapons at some point in their design, even down to the humble .22, they were designed because it was a more efficient way to kill people. So as long as we remember that you can trace every single firearm back, it really makes it a very clear point that, hey, while you're in a gun store and these people are conducting business and they are being professionals, and you walk in with your gun and you have questions about it, like do you have a magazine that'll fit, or do you have a holster that'll fit, you don't just whip it out, right? Do you have for this? Instead, right, the way that I like to go about it is, hey, do you have a magazine for a Glock 17? Do you guys carry those in stock? Or, hey, I noticed you have a Glock 17 in the display case and you have a holster here. I was just wondering if there was any way that I could try on the holster with the pistol in it to see if I like it. I am interested in purchasing it. I don't want to waste your time or mine. However, I don't want to purchase it to go outside, put the weapon in it, and then bring it back in because I don't like how it actually feels. And a lot of the time in that case, they'll tell you to go get it, and then you unload it in your vehicle and you bring it in. Which brings me to number 3, the it is unloaded guy, right? So I think he's one of the most dangerous gun owners and the most irresponsible of all. Right? Anytime I've brought any kind of weapons onto this channel and demonstrated anything, the first thing I always do is check them clear, right? Always. First thing I do. And I instill that into people I'm teaching of, hey, anytime you pick up a weapon or you receive a weapon, you rifle, check the chamber, Pistol, check the chamber and insert a finger. Same way with a rifle or a shotgun, right? Because it leaves no ambiguity on the table about the condition of that weapon. And you absolutely, positively must do that. And I don't know where people get off on thinking that this one time it'll be okay to not check it. Because it's not. Under any circumstances, okay to not know the condition of your firearm. So oh, hey, can I take a look at that? And then in a gun store, muzzle flash everybody in the store, or at somebody's house, point your weapon or a weapon somebody gives you at everybody in the room. And then just say, oh, well, it's not loaded. Okay, so listen. I've had weapons inadvertently pointed at me, both loaded and unloaded. I've had loaded ones on the range when I was teaching people, unloaded ones when it was somebody just doing that, or in a gun store, and it is not a good feeling. Both of them, immediately knowing a weapon is loaded and knowing a weapon is unloaded, and having them pointed at you, immediately, same immediate reaction. Now, the follow-on reaction is obviously very different between a loaded and unloaded weapon. For a loaded weapon, please watch videos of other professionals that they'll teach you how to do it, because there is a correct way to deal with that situation, and it is not one that I would like to get into with you. For legal reasons, right? It's not really what I want to teach. It's not really what I started this channel for, is teaching you how to disarm people who are pointing a loaded weapon at you. If you want that information, I'm sure there's other people who are going to have it out there. And you can pay to take a class and get professional training, just like I say in a multitude of other videos, for somebody to actually teach you that, who is a professional in that realm of expertise. Now, for an unloaded firearm, it's pretty simple. It's as simple as moving the barrel away from you, right? However you want to do it, whichever way is the easiest, and then taking possession of the weapon and explaining why you did that, and why that's so important to do. And then the other thing is explaining the mistakes that somebody has made, because a lot of time they don't even understand that they've made a mistake. So we used to have a rule, in case you didn't know, I was a bouncer in a bar, and the rule was ask them, tell them, make them, right? So hey, take the weapon from, hey man, I would really appreciate it if you didn't do that in the future. These things are tools. All of them can be traced back to being able to kill people. I don't like having them pointed at me, and you shouldn't like having them pointed at you either. So let's understand that we're going to have a professional agreement that we're not going to do it, and then the next time is, hey, don't point that at me. I've already explained to you why I don't like it. If you can't respect that, I'm not going to spend any more time around you or your firearms. And then the make them stage is as simple as leaving, right? If you're at their house, you leave, and you no longer associate with that person, because they don't have the ability to realize that they're using a tool designed to kill people, and they are pointing it at you, and they don't have the respect for that tool or you after you've asked them and told them. You do not need somebody like that in your life. They are literally a hazard. The next gun guy I don't like is the open carry dude. So like, open carry is cool. I open carry regularly, but it's when I'm at home on the farm, right? When I'm at my buddy's house, when I'm at the range, when I'm in an environment where I have absolute confidence that I'm going to know everybody who comes and goes and the situation that's going on. I don't need to hide what's in my hand. I don't need to play it close to my body. So I can leave the pistol out in the open. In the events that I open carry, my biggest concern is 90% of the time animals, right? Rattlesnakes, coyotes, foxes, maybe a bobcat, raccoons, possums, groundhogs. Something that if I see it, I'm going to shoot it based off of the nature of the encounter, right? So if I'm working around the yard, or I'm at my buddies and I'm around the chicken coop and I see a possum trying to go in the chicken coop, I'm going to shoot it. If I see a fox, I'm going to shoot it. If I see a coyote going towards the calves, I'm going to shoot it, right? So in those kind of situations, my immediate concern is the quickest way to get my pistol out of the holster, and it does not have anything at all to do with needing to have the element of surprise, take, and seal. The only reason I'm not carrying a rifle in those situations is because they're more inconvenient. And that's kind of my justification for open carry, right? If you're in a situation where you could carry a rifle and nobody would think anything of it, you're okay to open carry. If you are not in a situation where you could carry a rifle, you're just not because of the convenience factor, you should really be concealed carrying, right? And that's just kind of the way I perceive things and what I believe is the whole purpose of concealed carry and the whole purpose of handguns is for people to not know you have a weapon. Obviously, the only stipulation for that would be when I'm out doing something, I don't care if people know if I have a weapon. I don't care if animals know that I have a weapon. It's just too inconvenient or cumbersome to carry a rifle because of what I'm doing, right? And so when I see people open carrying, a handgun in a mall, like you wouldn't carry a rifle in a mall. You shouldn't open carry a handgun in a mall. It raises concern, it raises suspicion, and people look at you like you are fucking stupid. I apologize for my language, but anybody who is a professional or has any kind of experience or training, when they see somebody open carrying in a public place, they immediately, honest to God, think less of that person as a gun owner. And I even have said to people, it's people like him that make people like me look bad. And the reason for that is because it draws excess attention. If you're open carrying a handgun in a public place, you are saying, look at me, look at what I have. It's one of those situations, right? And it's not the purpose of a handgun, and on top of that, you're not doing it as a defensive weapon or as a shield. Instead, you are doing it to draw attention and be an offensive weapon. The other thing that it does, whether or not you want to admit it, is it makes you a target. Which I don't know why you would want to paint a huge bullseye right in the middle of your back and say, hey, if you're going to attack this place, shoot me first. Right? The whole purpose of why I concealed carry a handgun is literally for my wife and myself. And if I'm in a position where I can help somebody else and I have reasonable assurance that I can at least neutralize the threat, even at great harm to myself, but neutralize, right? That's the most important part. Is what I don't want to do is give that person my weapon to use against somebody else. I don't want to add to the problem. Now, if I can draw my weapon and I can, with any kind of reasonable assurance, neutralize that threat, I 100% am going to do that. But I apologize for that. What I am not going to do under any circumstances is broadcast that I have a weapon. I don't want people to know that. This is kind of how I go out, right? I'm wearing a sweatshirt, I'm wearing blue jeans, I'm wearing boots. That's how I go out, that's how I spend my time, that's how I walk around. I don't even want people to know that I believe in the Second Amendment. Now, it's usually not that hard to tell, right? Because I wear the big G-Shock watch, and I wear the Hunter, the Eva Shockey Quelo. I've got the Till Valhalla Project bracelet on. I've got one of the paracord bracelets. I've got tattoos all over me that are literally gun related and everything else. But I don't openly broadcast I have a gun. I don't wear the 9/9 stuff. And I think that's another point of the difference between somebody who's a professional and somebody who's a poser or a wannabe, right? Is what are you wearing? Are you wearing something that allows you to move? You can conceal carry, you can get it up, you can get your weapon out, your magazines are easily accessible. Or are you wearing stuff that looks cool because somebody who is actually a professional told you it was cool? Because there's a huge difference. And that brings me to the final person I don't like, is the faux expert, if you will. Because what that person does is they put out false information under the pretense that it is truthful or assertive, right? And that guy is horrible for our community. He puts out bad information, right? There's this whole huge argument that's been going on since the dawn of time about what's better, 9mm, 40, 45. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, right? They're all close enough to the same damn thing. It is all about bullet placement and bullet choice. And that is the biggest difference. If you watch the compared videos, like there's almost no difference between 40 and 45. There's almost no difference between 9mm and 40. And there's almost no difference between 9mm and 45, especially when you take into account larger magazine capacities and modern expanding ammunition and plus P plus ammo, right? So that guy that, oh, just get a 45 because shooting twice is stupid, or don't get a 45, get a 9mm because 45 is a stupid jack of all trade rounds, master of none. Like, okay, cool, man. Right, I get it. Here's what I have to say about your bullet choice. 9, 40, 45 will all get the job done. Whatever you choose. So will 357 SIG and 10mm. Guarantee you, dead is dead. 2 properly placed rounds, dead is dead. 3 proper. So also, here's another fact, right? And you guys can please fact check this because it's a fact and I'm not just making it up. Almost all civilian gunfights end in 6 rounds or less from the person who wins firearm. And it takes, on average, 2 to 4 rounds to neutralize an oncoming assailant, regardless of what caliber you are using. 9, 40, 45, 357 SIG, or 10mm. 2 to 4 rounds. 10mm is the lower at just over, I think it's like 1.8 to like 3.3 rounds for a 10mm, which I don't know how you can get 1.8 bullets off or 3.3. That sounds a whole hell of a lot like 2 to 4 to me. And those are rounds on target, right? In the squishy center mass, right? We're not talking about lights out shots here. We're talking about squishy center mass, 2 to 4 rounds on target, stops an oncoming assailant. And that is with almost every single common defensive caliber. So, my advice to you to combat the faux experts is to do your own research and formulate your own opinion. Go to the range, shoot a 9, shoot a 40, shoot a 357 SIG, shoot a 45, and shoot a 10mm. And whichever one you shoot the best, and whichever model you shoot the best, that you can afford and you like, that's what you need to get. Obviously with the caveat of doing your research first and buying a previously recorded, with research, reliable handgun. These faux experts are horrible sources of information, and they're horrible additions to the gun community and gun owning people. They really truly are. But some of these faux gun owning people work in gun stores. You cannot just take the guy behind the counter's opinions as facts. You have to do your research, and you should do your research before you ever walk into a gun store. And please, that's really what I'm trying to say is formulate your own opinions. Use what I'm saying not as a factual anything to make your references off of, but as a point of reference, right? Like Squelch's Shenanigans said this. Let me go verify that it is correct, and if it is incorrect, please comment so that I can fix myself and not be one of those faux experts. But he said this, it made me think of this, I looked this up, and this is fact, right? That's what I'm going for here, is I want everything I put out to be as factual as possible, be as based off of fact as possible, and then I want you to develop your own opinion. That's the whole purpose of this, right? I'm not trying to tell you what to do or how to do it. I am simply giving you what works for me and my opinions based off of my experiences and what I have learned and what I have been taught. Part 2 is coming up. We're going to do it in a separate segment, and that's going to be on drawing and firing a weapon from an open carry or a range holster, right? Maybe you send a duty, be it military or law enforcement, and you are forced to carry a weapon. It has to be outside. You're not allowed to cover it up for reasons, right? And that has to do with force protection and everything else. Maybe you're looking at getting a new range belt and you want my opinions on which one I like and why I like it. We're going to go into that too. And then on top of that, I'm going to go ahead and explain what I like, what I don't like, and what the way that I was taught of the quickest way to get it out of the holster and get rounds downrange on target. And we're going to go through all of that. So I hope you guys got something out of this. Obviously, it was another one of those ranting videos, but again, please watch it in its entirety and make sure that you're not one of those types of people. And if you are, it's not too late to make a change, right? Because those people really make us all look bad in the gun community. And that's what I want to avoid. So thank you so much for your time.